Hey everyone! So I have a little toy here that I'm going to try out today. I did a photo session with my sister, who is a fabulous photographer. So if you need anyone, check out Fikema Photography. She's amazing. She's so good. But she had done this kind of background scene thing with this new kind of a camera, like this one over here. So it follows and it tracks you kind of where you go. And I wanted to play around with it a little bit today, so we'll see how this goes. But it kind of alludes to exactly what I want to talk about today. So here's my question of the day. Is AI taking over the world? I mean, has it gotten to a point that we prefer the company of a bot than another person? Or sometimes we can't even tell the difference. So welcome back to Godfidence. So the other day, I called an electrician because, oh my goodness. So on July 4th, we had this huge storm, and my youngest daughter came out of her room and she's like, "Mom, there's water dripping from the ceiling." And I was like, "Oh no, this is awful." And it was dripping just through her lamp, which, oh my goodness, kind of, another freak out session. So it wasn't a lot, it was just a few drops, but it started dripping. And so, obviously there's a little bit of concern. So we went in, we found out that there was just like a tiny little thing in our roof that was causing the water to come through and just happened to flow through the lamp. And so we got that fixed. But then of course I had not had my daughter sleep in her room for a while because it was worrisome that make sure that there was any issues. I mean, water and electricity doesn't typically mix real well. So I wanted to make sure that everything was okay and there was no possibility of a fire. So I called a local electrician and oh my goodness, we began talking. The lady answered and I was just asking like, "Hey, I think there's something wrong. I just want somebody to come check. Do you have availability, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera." And after a few minutes, just something seemed a little bit off. And some of the statements she was giving me seemed very like robotic, or and not really robotic, I should even say, because she sounded very real. But I was just confused because I was like, is she hearing what I'm saying? So it sounded like programmed responses. So I started listening a bit more intently before finally I just asked, "Are you human?" Okay, first of all, I was sitting here going, please, Lord, let this person not be real. Let it not be a real person, because I would have felt so humiliated and so embarrassed if they said, "Yes, I'm a real person." But thankfully, or maybe not thankfully, they said they were a virtual assistant with the company. I was nearly fooled by an AI bot, thinking I had been talking to a real person this whole time, which made me feel incredibly stupid, but then also completely and utterly stunned with how realistic they sounded for the most part. It was actually a little bit scary. And like, if you ever watch some of those deepfake AI videos, man, it can get, it's trippy. It's scary. And so it got me really thinking, because I also watched this podcast last week. I saw an article about a man that had fallen in love with his AI persona and literally wanted to marry her. I mean, he wanted to leave the woman that he was currently with and had a child with to marry an impersonation of a person within an electronic. I also read too, just like today, I actually saw another podcast where somebody had married their virtual, I don't even remember the name of it now. Anyways, it was weird. Sorry, name eluded me, but it was I'll try to find the link and I'll send it below. But it begs the question out of all this. Have we become so disconnected with reality and human connection that we are talking with AI bots and, hopefully rare cases, wanting to marry and develop relationships with something that isn't even real? AI is literally called artificial intelligence. It isn't real. And so here's, just for fun, the definition of artificial. Artificial means made or produced by human beings rather than occurring naturally, especially as a copy of something natural. So let me repeat that. Hear that again. A copy of something natural. Something to mimic something real, but in actuality isn't real. We are closing ourselves off from human connection for a human counterfeit. Did you hear that? We are closing ourselves from human connection for a human counterfeit. We are isolating ourselves into a fake hole that will never ever fill us. Proverbs 18:1 says, "A man who isolates himself seeks his own desire. He rages against all wise judgment." So kind of makes a little bit of sense. Like if you're isolating yourself and only immersing yourself into AI, then you kind of rage against all wise judgment. Like you shouldn't be marrying a bot. The worst thing I think that the pandemic, which we all know what we're talking about, it did was it caused us to isolate and have relationships with screens. I mean, think about it. How many friends do you actually have on social media? How many people do you actually talk to on a regular basis? Take that a step further. See face to face. Have meaningful relationships with. Yes, Facebook is great to be able to connect with people you wouldn't normally see, but that is not true connection. It is just as much of a connection as it is me talking with an AI. It's artificial. And that's unfortunately kind of what happened with the pandemic and made kind of progression and opened a doorway for this whole thing to happen where people are now having relationships with artificial intelligence and these bots. Hebrews 10:25 talks about not forsaking gathering together for when the day approaches. And for this day, I'm meaning the day of hardship. AI cannot comfort you like a person can. It literally can't. It can tell you what you want to hear, but it can't literally comfort you. Ecclesiastes 4:9-12 says that two are better than one, and continues on to say that if one falls, the other can pick him up. AI cannot pick you up. Now, before you go and tell me, hey, Elon Musk has that whole new robot, totally can pick you up, it's very strong. Right, yeah. I'll say right away that this is already makes me nervous because I grew up on the Terminator movies, and that just, guys, why are we doing this to ourselves? But in all honesty, it's still a machine. It's programmed. Much like the person I'd been talking to for the electrician, it was using machine learning programmed responses. Learning, yes, which makes it all the more terrifying. I mean, we just talked about Terminators. But still, it's not a real person. It cannot replace people. So is that what we're doing? Are we getting so connected to machines that we aren't connecting to each other? So my next question is AI making us lazy? Keeping us from building meaningful relationships because, hey, we can just talk to Siri. My oldest daughter is in college, and they have this thing now where they have to check to make sure that the student actually wrote a paper themselves and didn't have AI write it for them, because so many kids have been utilizing AI to do their work for them. Kind of seems a little bit of a shortcut. I have heard people who want to write a book and just have AI write it for them, which as a writer breaks my heart because it's not truly yours. You're not doing anything. You're just typing something in AI and having it do that. And as the words of an old boss of mine, not my current boss, my old boss from many years ago, that's just pure laziness. And Proverbs is filled with verses about how we are not to be lazy, but hardworking and diligent. And you can look up all those verses later. It's Proverbs 6:6-11, Proverbs 10:4. But the first I do want to say is Proverbs 13:4, which in the Passion Translation is awesome. It says, "The slacker wants it all and ends up with nothing, but the hard worker ends up with all that he longed for." Let's not be lazy. The last one I have is Matthew 25:14-30. It's often called the talent. It's a story about the talents. It's an awesome story, and if you can go and you can read the whole thing, but I'm going to sum it up just with this. A man is going on a journey. He entrusts his servants to watch over some of his holdings for him. Some went out and they worked and received more holdings for the owner. Then one decided to hide it and not do anything with it. When the owner returns, he gets upset at this servant and calls him slothful because he didn't do anything with what was given to him. I've shared this story many times with my middle child about how, if you have a talent for something, you can't hide it. You need to be able to actually show it. I mean, that God honors that. He's given you something. You need to be able to give it away to others. So the servant in this story did what was easy. And I guess that's what I'm getting at with this. Are we going the easy route with relying on AI too much? Trading in relationships for something that's artificial? I certainly hope not. And I think we all need to do a check on that. And I actually work in the technology field, so I get it. I mean, technology is so easy. AI is so easy. It's nice. But you know what? Life isn't easy. And relationships aren't easy. Writing that book, that paper, doing the work isn't easy. But doing things the easy way aren't as meaningful. They don't have that feeling of accomplishment as it does when you actually do the work. The easy way doesn't build meaningful relationships that we desperately need, especially in this time and age. Because those true relationships are the ones that can get you through anything. And AI will never be able to do that. Have a great day, guys. We'll see you next time.